Right. Hey there, good evening, friends. So tonight's video is rounding reasoning. Make sure that you have your title and tonight's date on the top of your page, and go ahead and copy down your learning goal. The learning goal is I can understand why we might round numbers. I also know how to round numbers to the nearest 10, 100, and 1,000. Pause your video and press play when you're ready to begin again. All right, so rounding how-to. We're going to go through the steps of how to round. We've talked about this in class, but we want to make sure that we do not mix the steps up because it is super important. So you're going to pause after each step to make sure that you can get the notes copied down and press play when you're ready to begin again. So the first step of rounding how-to is to write out the number you are being asked about in standard form. Remember, standard form is just written how the number should be written, using commas in the right places. So our example is 2,148. Pause your video, press play when you're ready to begin again. Step 2 is to underline the digit in the place you are being asked to round to. For example, if the question says round 2,148 to the nearest 100, you're going to underline the digit in the hundreds place. If they had asked you to round 2,148 to the nearest 10, you would underline the digit in the tens place. So when they're asking you to round to a place, that is the place you are going to underline. Pause your video and press play when you're ready to begin again. All right, step 3, draw an arrow to the digit on the right of the underlined digit. So you already have your underlined digit, then you're simply going to draw an arrow to the digit that is just to the right of that underlined digit. Pause your video, press play when you're ready to begin again. All right, step 4, look at that digit and say to yourself, 4 or less, let it rest. 5 or more, up the score. Now, it is the underlined digit. Do I leave it alone? Meaning, do I let it rest? Or do I bump it, that underlined digit, up to the next digit? So in the saying, 4 or less, let it rest, we're talking about that underlined digit. We're either going to let him rest or we're going to bump him up, depending on where that arrow points to. All right, pause your video, press play when you're ready to begin again. All right, in step 6, in 2,148, that 4 tells me to let it rest. So the 4 that the arrow points to tells me to let it, remember that underlined digit is it, to rest. So the 2 and the 1 stay the same, and the digits after the 1, so any digit after your underlined number, become a 0. For example, in 2,148, we're rounding to the hundreds place, so our hundreds place is underlined, pointing to the 4. That 4 says 4 or less, let it rest. So we're going to let that 1 stay the same. So 2 stays the same, 1 stays the same, and then anything after it becomes a 0. Pause your video and press play when you're ready to begin again. All right, rounding reasoning. So rounding reasoning is the reason that we round. Why do we round? The reason that we round is to make numbers easier to work with. When we round, our numbers end in 0, which are always easier to add or to talk about or to think about, rather than numbers that may end in 8 or 7 or 6. So generally, rounded numbers are easier to work with, and they tell us about how many we might be talking about, or about how many we need, or about how many students we have, which sometimes that's close enough. So make sure you have that copied down and press play when you're ready to begin again. However, when we round, our numbers become less accurate. So there are a couple of things that we need to think about. What that means, less accurate, means that they're not as close to the actual as if we were really talking about the actual number. So when we round, we're getting an estimate or an about number. Sometimes we might estimate the number of pizza that we need to feed our class. So instead of me saying I have 19 students, I would round up to 20 to make sure that I have enough for all of my 19 students. The larger the place value that we round to, the less accurate or further from our actual number we will be. So, for example, if we round to the tens place, our number will be closer to the actual number than if we were to round to the hundreds place. The larger the place that we round to, the further we get away from our actual. Remember that you can pause as you need and press play whenever you're ready to begin again. So here I'm going to explain what that means. If I look at the number 2,148 and round it to the tens place, it rounds to 2,150. But if I round this number to the thousands place, it rounds to 2,100. Well, 2,150 is a lot closer to our actual than 2,100 is. So when we round, we have to take into mind, can we be that far away from our actual? Do we need to round to the tens place? Or is it really okay if I round to the hundreds or thousands place? I just wanted you to see that the larger place that you round to, the further you get from your actual number. That's the end of tonight's video. Make sure that you copied all your notes down. Remember that you can go back to get anything that you missed, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a great evening.